Welcome back to Combatants Will Be Dispatched Anime Review, episode number 6. This is from basically, now I'm talking about the 8th episode of the series, Corrupt Black-Hearted Knight. And I was rereading the book this time, yes, first time in a while for the series is, where, yeah, because it's been like 2 months since I read this book, so I figured though, why not take a look and see exactly what they adapted. And what did they adapt for this one? The entirety of chapter 2 and like the first portion of chapter 3. Yeah, I'd say the first like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say about the first 5 pages of the chapter. Yes. Now, the episode starts off with Princess Tilly trying to activate the weather device. They basically think it's just shaped like a cube. And she has a dick festival. Of course, she's not from anybody. And because she's not technically the crown leader of the country, because the king is missing, do not know what happened to him. So she tries, and, well, then of course you have Agent 6 basically called here because, well, you have to go because because of course they chastise him for the stupid password, and of course he denies it. Oh, in case you're curious, though, is Tiger Man in this episode? Kind of is. He does make a small cameo. He basically stays home for this episode. And here's the thing about Book 2 when it comes to Tiger Man. He only appears only in the first chapter, and that's it. That's all his appearance. Basically, what you saw from the first episode of the season, for episode 7, that was his whole appearance in Book 2. He does appear more prominently in Book 3. Don't worry about that. So, he's being ordered by the princess to go to her country to secure some water crystals. And basically does this, apparently Alice has been asking for a certain, investigate some ruins in the area, so basically gotta do that. So basically he's going with Snow. So the whole unit basically is driving there in a doom buggy. And what basically a lot of this episode is basically pulled from the actual book itself. There's some small portions cut here and there, but it's very minor at best. So they drive along. Of course, they chat for a bit on the way there. The whole unit is there. And of course, guess who's driving? Alice. They do cut a small little bit of how in the world she's able to drive, despite the fact she's the body of a child. She has a control mechanism that basically allows her to drive any vehicle. Now, if you're curious though, like, did they somehow basically buy EU points for this damn thing? Well, I should point out though that they don't really explain where the heck they got this damn thing. In the book, it's never explained. It's presumed they got this from the Cogside Corporation via some of the endpoints. When they got this vehicle is never explained. It probably presumed it happened off screen. So they drive along. Of course, Grimm is standing up instead of sitting down. Of course, she falls out. Nearly gets run over, but luckily everybody stops, grabs her, and they go straight to the castle. And then pretty much, and of course, Grimm tries to start. I think it's not Grimm. It's Snow starts tries to basically put the moves on the guy who they're meeting. And then they go inside, of course, to check out the ruins of the place. And then we have basically, a party going on. Now, in the case of their outfits, now, from what I can tell, they probably didn't pull this from the actual novel, because they didn't have a clear description exactly what the heck these people actually wore. The only one they did was Helene. She was the only one they had a clear description exactly what the heck she wore in this particular scene. But aside from her, everybody else, they probably have to guess on the actual manga. Yes, because first they have is Grimm wearing a very lovely dress, throws off her shoulders. And it's basically kind of like a regular outfit that she would normally wear. Not like her other outfit, this one's a lot different. Snow's outfit basically is a very, let's just say, it's a type of outfit basically kind of like a long back, but with almost like she's wearing shorts, but still a dress. Almost like she's wearing a mini skirt. And, of course, they're at a party. Now, a lot of this stuff is a lot of chatting, which they do keep from the book itself. And, of course, Grimm basically is asked, why aren't you wearing shoes? He's like, why don't you just call me Grimm? And he's like, I have trouble calling one by their first name. That's from the book itself. Later on, of course, basically the same guy would tell Grimm that he is a happily married man and he has children. And then we also see Alice. Now, they do cut a little portion out here where Alice basically claimed she was lost, so she basically just wandered on the castle. Yeah, that was cut from this thing. And she comes across this particular tube that she brings Agent 6 to, and it's suspected that it's made some cloning or some kind of whatever. Or Alice suspects basically a sleeping chamber. And then we have a new character show up, Russell of the Water, who is a chimera. And they don't identify who his voice actor is. And this actually is his first appearance, and he becomes a prominent character. He actually appears in book 2 very, very prominently as a supporting character, and he appears also in book 3. I almost kind of forgot Tiger Man does appear in chapter 3, but he does not appear. He appears a bit later on when it comes to Helene. And of course, well, then Helene shows up, and she's like, oh crap, not you, John Herm. And of course, then he decides to tackle her, handcuff her, and then first tickles her, and then starts groping her. And, well, it gets a lot of ear points to that. And of course, she tells him, stop groping me. And the manga has this scene on a little bit longer than you probably think it probably would. And of course, later on, of course, then we have the prince show up. Of course, let's point out that the Grimm cast this curse that would make, well, 6 impotent, but it missed. That actually would actually hurt the investigations. They mention this later on in the actual, in the epilogue of the episode, which they actually pulled that from the beginning of chapter 3. So then the prince comes in. Of course, well, despite the fact he has a reputation where he is a notorious ladies' man. Here, he's not like that at all. And of course, Snow tries to seduce him along with Elaine. And it turns out, though, that, well, he is not a ladies' man anymore because apparently he got like an epiphany or whatever. So then, of course, well, after a while of their seducing tactics not working, and of course he also been accused with negotiating with the Demon Kingdom, which they mentioned about the Sand King. Mentioned later on there. So it says he's formed a non-aggression pact with them. That's the reason why they're here. And then basically Agent 6 says something really stupid. The dick. Basically what he does is that he puts a stool behind the prince, pulls on his zipper, and takes out his dick in front of everybody and does it's a dick top knot, which, yes, he does this in the book as well, so I thought this was stupid for him to do, and they say it was a party trick from his homeland. Like, if he's from Japan, I've never heard of this party trick before. Which, yes, it's happened in the book as well, so I don't blame the anime for this. This is actually a really stupid scene. I'm not surprised. If you're a female viewer, you probably would enjoy this. If you're a male... Oh, yeah, and they also this thing where Grimm... I think it's like Grimm and Snow are blushing at seeing Six's dick. And, of course, later on, like, right afterwards, like, basically they're told to leave. And... Now, that's where technically when they had to leave, that's where book 2 actually ends. Well, actually, that's where the chapter ends, mind you. That's where chapter 2 ends. But the next scene where basically Telly is chastising Snow and Six, that comes from the beginning of chapter 3, where because of Snow's failed negotiation, she's being demoted again to just being the second commander of Six's unit. And they're being ordered to go to the desert to look for this water nut that apparently can have a large amount of water stored in it. Basically, it's about this size, and, well, they have to go look for it. And then they have the whole group go back into Dune Buggy, and they go drive out, and of course, Grimm reveals, like, why the prince acted the way he did. It was actually Grimm's fault. The curse went to him and made him impotent. Yeah, so technically what happened was actually her fault. Does she take the blame for it? Is she punished for it? No, she isn't. Yeah, but that's the episode for you. A pretty interesting episode, and next episode, oh boy, it's the weird one. Yeah, the one where, like, this happened in the book, basically, where there's this, like, weird night in the desert where Snow has to get E points to get a vehicle, and he has to basically pull E moves on all his female members of his unit, with the exception of Alice. And he does it to Snow, Grimm, and even Rose as well. And don't worry about the one thing about Russell I should point out though, he looks almost exactly like Rose, except it's a boy. Yeah. Now, I don't know who voices him in the actual anime because there's no list of him. Like, that's kind of the weird thing when it comes to Russell, is that there's no actual, like, mentioned exactly who voices him in the English dub. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't really say. In the sub, he is voiced by someone by the name of Makito Ito. That's what voices him in the sub, who is, from the sound of it, it's a woman. Yeah, it's a woman. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's who basically voices Russell in the sub. But in the case of the dub, they don't really say exactly who voices him. Mm-hmm. He's a weird character. At one point, they put him in a maid attire. Yeah, and he's still stuck in that. They actually later on capture him and they keep him as basically like a servant. And he's in book 3. Doesn't do very much, but he's in book 3. Yep. But not much else to say about this episode. It was pretty good. For me personally, the party scene was kind of fun. But I think what happens next is just as interesting. Yeah. It's like going crazy heat next episode. Yep. Excuse me, next episode is called Carnivorous Female Chimera. Yep. Now, I should point out, though, that in the actual book itself, which this episode does from this book right here, there is a crossover in here with Konosuba. I do not know if it was adapted for the anime. If it was, they probably adapted it for like an OVA or something like that. Because I would love to see this one adapted. But they would have to bring in, if they dub it, they have to bring in the actual dub cast from Konosuba. Yep. So yeah, that's it, particular review. Stay tuned for next review, which will be One Piece. Okay? See you next video. Bye.